So as I mentioned a bit earlier, we have made some changes how Concertina wires work.
Yeah, so Concertina has been a bit of a hot topic as well in the past. Like, so if you think about Concertina in the live environment, you think probably about an obstacle, but also you think about how you cannot shoot through them. You think about how you can throw them on top of burning hunter, and then the choke bomb sometimes doesn't work from the other guy, etc. Like you think about a lot of like kind of things where it's kind of like, man, as a package, well, it's there and it works and it's actually quite nice and effective, but also it can be a bit frustrating sometimes and hard to actually understand what it's meant to do and what it's not meant to do. So what we've been doing is we have improved the hit detection of the wires, so that like they're basically having smaller proxies now. That means you can more likely shoot through gaps that are between them. Not every gap; they're still obviously a little bit bigger than what you see in the mesh. Just the way they have to be set up. But bigger holes, you will have a much better chance to shoot through more reliably, and that gives you the chance to just do things like that, like blow up a barrel or maybe kill a guy or whatever. That obviously means there's going to be some changes to Concertina gameplay. May, can you pause for a sec?
Sure.
So what it means is that people have been using or are using Concertina wire in specific ways at the moment, right? Like so obviously they use it in this kind of like abusive way, which is fine, but it's just not what was intended. Like being able to kind of block a hunter that's being downed in the open, so that you can revive him behind the shelter, right? Obviously that's going to be harder now, so you won't be able as effectively anymore to use Concertina wire for that. It might still work, but it's more risky to do it because the enemy might find an opening. Like I think closer to the center of the Concertina mesh, you have a denser coil, right? And there it's much harder to shoot through. But overall, you might feel just that it's becoming a bit easier being able to reach people on the other side. So some people will think this is really cool. Some people think, oh shit, I just lost an option here to revive a teammate. That's part of this change set, right? It just changes the rule sets a little bit. It's also going to be a bit more different when it comes to the boss layers, for example, where people might use Concertina bombs or traps to seal off certain entrances, right? And then normally we just go there and just like melee bash it, but because the guy from the inside can't shoot through it, you can kind of do this rather safely. Again, also becomes a bit more risky. So there's pros and cons. There's some downsides to it, and some of them might even slow the game down a little bit. But overall, I think it feels a lot more consistent and a bit more like what you would expect how it should act in the world.
Awesome. So we can continue watching the video.
Yeah, so this is like now where you kind of like shoot with a compact ammo rifle against it. It doesn't destroy anything. It just doesn't go through. But there's a long ammo, and that long ammo just clearly severs the links. So long ammo can now destroy Concertina pieces. So you take out individual pieces if you hit them directly, and that obviously can create much more of an opening. The same is true obviously for the nitro ammunition, and the same is also true for the full metal jacket ammunition. So if you equip FMJ ammunition, that is a bit more armor piercing, that also has an effect now on the Concertina meshes. So if you don't have that opening right from the beginning, maybe just shooting once or twice, actually you might have an opening afterwards. But you need to have a certain power about this. I think slugs don't do this either. They're not powerful enough for that. You need like really just like the more hardened piece of ammunition with a very strong load in it that actually can do this.
And we have one more video of how melee works with the Concertina.
Yeah, so this is something which changes now. So this has been, I guess, if you pause for a second, please. So this has been something where I think people have been using that the most. Like you just equip your tool and your med kit or whatever, and you just punch the wire, right? It's effective because it's like it's the least stamina use. It's a way to how you can clear this very quickly, but it actually is, if you think about it, rather silly. So something that we're doing is just putting a bit of a consistent language in that. Like now you will have to cut the wire. So a bayonet stab into the wire, or a punch with the dusters or with the fists, or anything that is a blunt attack will not destroy the mesh. Like the mesh will just love it off, and that's the end of it. Obviously you can still just like run into the wire and then it breaks, but then you get bleeding damage. So you will not be trapped in wire. You can still do whatever you can normally do against it. But if you want to clear these obstacles, obstacles. It's following more of a logical rule set now that you actually need to cut the wire with something that can cut it, and not just like punch it to death with your fists without not even starting to bleed from it. So let's have a look at this video, and you can see kind of like how different scales of weapons become better and better in doing it. Like the dusters, again, no effect here. And with a knife, the regular knife, you can still do it, but it takes like 2 strikes to do it. So it will take quite a bit of stamina to this. The heavy knife, on the other hand, is already like strong enough. Like heavy knife cuts like several pieces even. So that becomes much stronger. So again, here's a little bit of a buff for the heavy knife. The shovel, again, like this is the regular attack that cuts, right? The heavy attacks gives the blunt attack. Like you can kind of like just like clear out like full large chunks of wire with just one sweep. So what that means is you can actually use a combat axe or a wood axe or a machete or a talon or a hatchet, any of those weapons that use the kind of these wide swing attacks to very effectively clear out concertina wire, but you cannot do it so effective with small blades. Like if you have the throwing knives, you can slash with them also, right? Which still takes like 2-3 slashes to bring them down. So the normal knife still has a chance to do it. It's still a flexible option, but there's a couple of better options around now, and maybe some people will maybe reconsider their tool slot for that. And obviously there's a huge drawback that if you bring the knuckle knife or the dusters, that none of them have any slashing attacks. So it's all blunt or stab, right? And therefore they will not be able to do anything about concertina wire. In this case, you will have to find a shovel, you will have to find like an axe and just like chop it away that way. Or maybe just your teammate is going to do it for you. So everything should feel a little bit more authentic, if it makes sense, a bit more realistic in terms of what you would expect it. And we no longer now have medkit people punching wire quickly just because it's the fastest, most efficient way. There's actually some bit of sense behind this now. That means there will be some situations where maybe your teammate has been buried under concertina. You maybe only have dusters on you. Well, in this particular case, this is a drawback for you. This is a disadvantage. Like you now will have to actually seek out that axe, that shovel, whatever, in order to be able to clear it out. Or you will have to accept that you can only destroy the wire piece by piece by stepping into it, stopping to bleed, stepping into it, stopping to bleed. So it just changes the tactics a little bit and makes the whole thing a little bit more interesting. And yeah, I mean the riposte, for example, having the regular attack being a swing, obviously the swing attack also works very well against this. The stab doesn't, obviously, because you can't just like stab wire to death.
Awesome. So yeah, make sure to try it out with different weapons, and you have to bring new tools to break them down quicker. So that's great. But
Yeah.
that's not the only thing that we improved. We also changed some more things, like the crank doors.
Oh yeah, so this is going to be an interesting one. And so basically what the heavy doors, the crank doors, are the ones that you have like the little crank next to them, and then you can kind of like lift them up or move them sideways. And they have changed. What that means, let's have a look at the video and then we explain.
Awesome. Wow, it didn't close.
Exactly.
Is that real?
They stay open now. You just need to tap the button and then they close automatically. So a huge improvement and change to how these doors now work. Also, you might have noticed the window is now in a different position and allows you much clearer to actually throw stuff through them or shoot through them. So they become much more of a gun position, a shooting position. So you can now like do tactics like, I know, like if you're in the south of Bradley, for example, right? They have like the little door on the back side. You can now maybe just open that door and just like maybe make a big quick excursion outside to see if you can do a flanking move. In worst case, you can just pull back inside without having to first open the door again. Just slam the button afterwards, and basically it closes after you, and back in you are.
And as you can see, if you just hit the crank itself, it closes, just like the other gates that you can.
You can also just
out.
shoot it at range, for example. So it's like the falling gates, basically. It's the same logic. So they can arrest open. Obviously, you need to fully open them. Like if you do not fully open them, they will always start like closing again, right? So you need to arrest them in the open position for it to not close automatically. Some of these doors actually have like no no window at all. So we're still evaluating where exactly we place them. And some of them, like this one here, for example, it can be a bit problematic because there's no way you can project any throwables on the other side, right? So it's hard to prepare for your push through that door. So we're still evaluating maybe if you can open up a couple of windows or like little gaps on the side here and there. Some of them might also just stay like that, but most of them will actually have the window version and the improvements of that.
Awesome. And that's the crank doors. Hope you guys like the new changes, and let us know how you like the holes, the new holes, or the doors without holes. And we also have some small changes to ladders. Since we added so many this update, you can actually change how you mount or dismount them. And I think the best is to demonstrate it in a video right away, so you guys can see.
Yeah, this is just a very quick quality of life improvement. So basically, you spend less time on the top of pillars as you mount or dismount them. Just overall makes the whole thing a lot more accessible. Just it's easier to just like jump up there. It's less deadly to do it.
Exactly. It's a bit smoother as well, I feel like.
Yeah, and again, as you can see, we like the ladders. We do a lot of things with ladders.
And the same applies when you're going downwards as well.
Yeah, so maybe 1 or 2 people in the chat might actually use ladders a little bit more now.
Awesome. And we have even more changes, just like the hand crossbow changes that Dennis actually already mentioned.
Yeah.
That now they are not a medium slot, but a small slot, if you guys missed that. So you can basically take it with the new ammunition, and you can have more use for it than before, because you don't need quartermaster anymore, basically. We are also implementing new anti-cheat improvements. We realized it's a big topic in the community, and our team is heavily investigating it, doing all the measures we can to stop cheating, and yeah, we will improve it very soon, so please stay tuned for that. And we had a longer update on the Steam forums if you want to read a bit more detail, but we are looking into it, and it's one of our main priorities now, the update. Other changes that may affect a few people is performance and stutter fixes. We actually have a beta branch right now on the servers, on the PC servers, which should help with the stutters. So make sure that you guys who face these issues try that and let us know how it works. And we really want to fix these issues in the coming update.
There's a couple more small things I can just drop in there. We don't have a slide for them. Just like daily, again, that's a reinforcement of have a look at the patch notes, because we are on test server already. Some of you might have noticed already, I suppose. So you can already read the stuff and look a little bit more in detail how things go. 2 or 3 points that are also on the patch notes that I wanted to raise a little bit here is we also did, for example, a change to the hunter spawn. When you spawn in a trio, now every player is facing, because they are aligned in a triangle, right? Every player can face and see the other 2 players. So it's just a little small improvement we have there that just makes things a little bit nicer. So you don't have to look past the shoulder of that other guy like, oh, what skin did he bring? And it's just a small thing, again, it's nothing too big. We also did a couple of changes to the decoys, for example, that the sound, the metal plinging on impact is with having a lesser range, and we actually increased the range of the decoys, the regular ones that is, just to see that they might become a little bit more viable, just so because you might trigger that bird cage, so they're like 30-40 meters away, and people might assume there's players there, but they didn't hear that it was a decoy, and therefore they might actually fall for it. So just minor stuff like that allows us to just boost things a little bit. And another change is that the ghoul trait now drops from 7 to 4 points. So just based on the feedback we received on it, like 7 points was a bit too much. So with 4 points, I think it's probably in a better spot. And just like minor stuff like that. Yeah, just go check out the patch notes. There's a bit more stuff in there still, and also to get like a list of the bug fixes that went in, as well as there's still some known issues that we will have to iron out on test server. So go to test server, play test server, give us feedback. This is a big update, a massive update. You can see it from the length of this dev stream alone, right? We had a lot to talk about. I probably will not have a voice tomorrow.
That's for sure.
And we basically went at great lengths to make sure that this is very much balanced and that is a good starting point as we hit the test service now. Like, we used our external testers. Again, very big thanks to them for helping us out with this. So look out for a community, for people talking about the experiences in the testing program, and give you some information about what they think is good, what they think needs improvements or changes, and make sure you feedback that also to us in the usual channels, like be that in Reddit or Steam forums or Discord, all in all the way, social media, and make sure that we get to know your thoughts on this whole thing, and hopefully, most of all, you guys are enjoying what we did.